Hey guys, tonight we have Bella Faber here with us. She is one of the founding members of DBBH and she helps lead the corporate team. And today she's going to be talking to us about something that almost every Duke student deals with, which is uncertainty.
Hi guys, I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What are you interested in?
Yeah, I'm from New York. I'm a junior at Duke. I'm majoring in bio and minoring in global health. Probably what I'll talk to you today a little bit about is how I came into Duke as pre-med. I'd wanted to be a doctor since I was in 7th grade, but I quickly realized at Duke that that wasn't for me. And now I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, what my next steps are.
Okay, great. So tell us a bit more about your mindset coming in. What was your goal? What did you think your life was going to look like? And why did you think that?
Yeah. So when I was a teenager, my mom got diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, and that really set me on a path. I became really interested in health and research, and I really wanted to find a way to help her and then patients like her. And so I decided that I wanted to become a doctor. I wanted to study bio and be pre-med at Duke. I wanted to later go and work for Doctors Without Borders, and then I wanted to spend the rest of my life working for Doctors Without Borders. When I got to Duke, I started taking some of my pre-med classes, and I realized that I really was not passionate about them. And then I was kind of in this funk where I was taking all these pre-med classes. I didn't get to take any fun electives.
So actually going into these classes and realizing what it was like, was that kind of the big signal to you of, wait, I don't know if I want to commit to this, or what really changed your mind?
Yeah. I think the classes were certainly the first signal. I didn't enjoy them. I really was excited about taking some really fun, interesting classes at Duke that I was just genuinely passionate about, and I wasn't doing that. But then I had the opportunity to actually go and do cancer research at a lab in Australia the summer between my freshman and sophomore year. And I said yes, and I went by myself. There was no program or students my age going. It was literally me.
Complete
I got an
solo
apartment.
trip?
Yes,
Wow,
solo
okay.
trip to the max. I got an apartment. I was living an adult life in Melbourne, Australia, and I had a lot of time to think about what was important to me, what I wanted out of life, was I on the right path or not. A lot of that kind of self-reflection and thinking, that a lot of that happened through journaling, honestly, which I highly recommend to anyone who's struggling but also just wants to sort through how they're feeling and what matters to them. So I did a lot of that. I did a lot of hot girl walks. I did a lot of journaling.
Yeah.
And I came to realize that I really wasn't passionate about what I was doing at Duke, and that I had this incredible opportunity to study at one of the best universities in the world and take classes from incredible professors and learn things that I never thought that I could learn, and I wasn't taking advantage of that.
So do you think that the isolation really forced you to address and readdress your priorities? Do you think the hustle and bustle of Duke kind of makes it a little hard to think about? It's easy to just fall into what's ahead of you, or do you think being alone really helped you address it?
Yeah, I think being alone really, really helped me address what I wanted out of life and what I wanted to do. I think at Duke you can get caught up in what everyone around you is doing, and you lose sight of what's most important to you. But when you're spending all day, every day, pretty much by yourself, because I was working in a lab, and then I would come home and I would make dinner for myself and I don't know, journal. You really have to like who you are. And you really have to find what makes you happy, and you have to reevaluate your priorities. And I also couldn't talk to my family or friends really, because they were
the time zone
difference.
difference.
The time zone difference. So I realized during that time, wait, I know this might sound obvious to a lot of people, but my family is so important to me. My friends are so important to me, and without that support system, you start to feel really lonely. And I realized that I wanted to make that a real priority in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see myself getting back, continuing with the pre-med grind at Duke, taking soulless classes that I didn't enjoy,
Yeah.
and then potentially taking a gap year where most of my friends and family would be in New York, and I would
alone,
probably
like studying
be
for the MCAT.
yeah,
or,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like that sounds kind of miserable.
Uh-huh.
And then, you know, I go to med school and I do more studying and more school, and then I'm like up to here in student debt, and I was living an adult life, so I really couldn't see myself on that path anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that I also had this whole other skill set that I wasn't utilizing. Like, I really do think that I'm a people person. I really, like, people give me energy,
Mm-hmm.
and that I'm at my best, not when I'm in a lab, but when I'm like talking with people and engaging with people. And I also have this sort of like entrepreneurial mindset. Like, I want to go and start something.
Yeah.
I want to do something on my own. And I've always prided myself on being sort of like unique and
Outside the
original,
box,
outside
yeah.
of the box. And I wasn't doing that. I lost that.
A little bit of the spark.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
motivated you.
Exactly. So I decided that I owed it to myself to explore that.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's okay to not want what 7th grade you wanted.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's okay to
You
change.
can reevaluate.
You can reevaluate. It's actually kind of crazy to think that you will stay the same, you know, all of these years, you know, throughout all of these years. Like,
sure.
change is natural, change is good, and you have to, part of life is like embracing that change.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you came to this conclusion, you're like, wait, this isn't what I want to do with my life anymore. How do you come to terms with that? How do you then figure out what you actually do want to do?
Yeah. So I'm a very type A person. I think that's part of the reason that I gravitated towards being pre-med in the first place, because I really liked the idea of having a plan.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you pivot, you lose that plan. So
It's scary, yeah.
Yeah, super scary. But I wanted to make it not as scary. So I did a ton of research, and I decided that I was going to do a bunch of these informational interviews. So I would literally go down these rabbit holes, and I would say, hey, my name is Isabella Faber, and I'm a Duke student. I'm really interested in, you know, what you do. I'd love to get like 15 minutes on the phone, whatever. And I would prepare for those calls. I'd research the company or the person, and, you know, I'd ask them questions like, how did you get to where you are? Like, why are you doing what you do? Like, what motivated that? Do you enjoy it? What advice do you have for someone like me? And I learned so much. And through that, you know, they would refer me to another person, and they would refer me to another person, and it becomes this kind of cycle.
A loop, but you gain from it.
Exactly, and I was learning so much. I learned about VC, I learned about consulting, I learned about private equity. I learned about all these things at the intersection of business and health.
Mm-hmm. So biology and health was still kind of a priority, just in a different lens.
Certainly. I knew that I wanted to do something in the healthcare space, but I knew that it wasn't going to be research, and it wasn't going to be
Medicine anymore.
pre-medicine. Yeah, pre-med. Yeah, so I think talking to people who I thought were doing really cool things really helped me, because I got to understand how they got to where they are currently, and then they also were able to shed a bit of light on, you know, what might give me some clarity, and, you know, what advice I should be thinking about. Yeah.
So were there any resources that really helped you to be able to reach out to people, and also, like, what were the big takeaways that you had, like, through calling and talking to all these amazing people?
Yeah. So when I was in high school, and part of the reason that I was pre-med at Duke was because I did an internship in Münster, Germany, where I was studying autoimmune disorders.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah. But to get that internship, I had to reach out to labs and, you know, connect with
The cold emails.
Yeah,
and all that,
exactly. And for a little bit of context, like, I was 16. I had never worked in a lab before. I had I was 16. I had never worked in a lab before. I had never even taken a biology course. Like, I should not have been working in the lab. And I got like 85 rejections. Seriously, like, so many rejections. It became normal. You know, I opened my email, rejection. But it takes one yes.
That's all you need.
It takes one person. to say yes, to give you a shot, for you to have an incredible opportunity. And I knew that it only took one person, so I just kept on writing these emails. And I had some tools, so I did a lot of research online.
Mm-hmm.
I would use LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone knows LinkedIn, yeah.
Exactly. And then to find their emails, this was super helpful. I use a platform called Hunter.io, not sponsored, but I use a platform called Hunter.io, and you put in like the person's email and their company or affiliation, and you can pretty much always find their email.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, I need to use that.
Yeah, it's the best thing ever. I highly recommend. Sometimes I have people ask me, like, where did you find my email? Like, I didn't realize it was out on the internet. But yeah, that's very rare, actually, that they question how you got their email. But yeah.
Okay, wait, that's great to know. So where would you say you are now, and what really helped you prepare for what you wanted to do, like actually researching and calling to people? What conclusions did you come to?
Yeah. So after I did a lot of these informational interviews, I realized that I really wanted to do something at the intersection of business and health. So I ended up landing an opportunity to work at a life sciences venture capital firm for the summer, which is what I did this past summer. And that was super cool. I got a lot of really cool experience working with biotech companies or people in the life sciences who, wanted to get VC funding. And that was a super cool experience. But I also realized that I was lacking technical finance background, right? Like, I have never even taken Econ 101. Like, I know nothing about finance, honestly. I've done research and I've taken all these biology courses, but, asked me to do, I don't know, something business related.
Yeah.
I'll have a tough time. But I did it, and I had a great experience, and I had a lovely mentor, and it was a wonderful experience, but I was like, I need to get some business experience. So another thing that all these people told me during the informational interviews was that consulting is a really great path for people who are very curious, who are interested in a lot of different things, who enjoy problem solving, right? And who also want to get a lot of like business experience, right? You get to work with a lot of different industries on a bunch of different things, and so that sounded like a more appealing. That started to sound more and more appealing to me. And so I started looking into consulting, and I actually loved case prep. And I also loved like all the consultants that I was talking to. I thought that their jobs were so cool. And I was a little bit intimidated by the fact that I didn't have any business experience. And there was a part of me that questioned how much consulting aligned with my values and original mission, like coming to Duke, right? Like I came to Duke wanting to make an impact, wanting to help people, wanting to do something in the healthcare space. Is consulting that? That's something that I really had to think about. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Right?
So what was the answer? Break down like what even is consulting? Like what does that look like? And why was it okay, yes, this is what I want to do?
Yeah. So just like there are a lot of pre-meds at Duke, there are also a lot of people, probably
That's
more
true.
people doing IB and consulting. And there is an insane amount of pressure, at least in my opinion, to do that. And I'm not going to lie, I think I fell into that pressure a little bit. So consulting started to sound more and more appealing.
Sense of security.
Yeah, a sense of security, right? All of my friends were getting internships. All of my friends were getting jobs. Like, I had nothing. I had, like, question marks. so that was...
fill that gap.
Yeah, exactly. That was really scary. But once you start doing the work of actually case prep,
you can see what it's really
you can
like.
see what it's really like. You start talking to consultants and you realize, like, hey, is this for me? Is this not for me? A lot of people then realize, consulting's not for me. I, actually really enjoyed case prep. I really liked the space, at least what I know of it. And so consulting seemed like a really good option for me. And my dad actually gave me a really good piece of advice that I still think about and that I think maybe our viewers would benefit
Yeah.
from. You don't have to have your whole life figured out. You don't need to know what you're going to be doing in 10 years, 20 years. You just need your first job out of college. Like, that's all you need to do.
It's just the one step
It's
ahead.
just the one step ahead. And everyone was telling me, like, consulting is a great step. You know?
It doesn't have to be the end all be all.
It's a great first step. It doesn't have to be the end all
Yeah.
be all. And I think I was and have been worried about getting stuck in consulting, but that's not really what happens to consultants. But that's what I started to think about, and I was like, you know what? I know why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this just because I feel all this pressure to have job security and go into consulting. Pre-med, consulting, like student debt,
Yeah.
a job, and, you know,
Important
money.
realities to consider, for sure.
Yeah, definitely an important reality. Definitely something to think about. But I would also say that I view consulting as a stepping stone to where I want to go. It's going to give me the skill set to go and do something great. It's going to give me the skill set to go and make an impact. It's going to give me the skill set to go and build my own thing, you know, at the intersection of business and health, because at the end of the day, that's what I want to do. And I want to make an impact, and I will make an impact, but I'm going to need to do some things to get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I view it. That's how I think about it.
I really like that.
Yeah. But of course, that's taken me a really long time, you know. It's taken me a long time to get there.
Yeah. So how do you think your mindset has changed through all of this about what success is, what failure is, and how these things can impact you?
Yeah. I think coming to Duke and being at Duke, success looks a lot like checking boxes, right? It looks a lot like getting the internship. It looks a lot like, you know, getting the degree. It looks a lot like, you know, having the perfect life, right? Like picture perfect life. I've experienced a lot of failure at Duke as well. And I think a lot of us have. And I think we don't talk about those failures.
Yeah.
We learn a lot from those failures, right? And those failures are part of the reason why I'm here right now, right? Like that's part of the reason that I'm doing consulting. Like I had applied to this job doing something else in the biotech space, and I was super excited about it, super passionate about it, and I was like, I am gonna get this. And I didn't. And I was like completely crushed. And I was like, this is a personal failure. You know, what am I gonna do with my life? Another rejection, right? But I'm here and I'm doing this, and I have like a renewed sense of what I want to do with my life. And I think that consulting is a great next step for me. And I wouldn't be here without that failure, right?
Yeah.
And I think where I am now aligns more with my values out of life. Like that job in biotech was going to be as a researcher in a lab. Like right now, I don't see myself working in a lab. Like that wouldn't have been the right fit for me.
Yeah.
You know?
It's almost like if everything worked out the way it did, we wanted it to freshman year of college.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the life we want, you
No.
know, junior year.
And I think it's so natural to reevaluate your life every once in a while, right? Like, you know, just because I'm doing consulting now doesn't mean I'm going to be doing consulting in 3 years, right? Like maybe I will, maybe I won't, you know?
And that's okay.
That's
to not
totally
know,
okay.
yeah.
Like what are my values going to be when I'm 25? Like I don't know. I should reevaluate then, you know, and I should embrace that uncertainty then. And learning how to embrace that uncertainty now will be really useful then.
For later on.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if the first time that I was ever experiencing failure or embracing uncertainty was when I was 25, you're in a rough place.
Be in for it, yeah.
You're in a rough place, right? Like bigger consequences, right? And a bigger reality check, right? But when you learn how to do it in smaller doses, I think it's a little bit more manageable. And as much as it is scary, like I'm really happy to be where I am right now as well, you know?
I really like that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. It's been so fun chatting.
Hi guys, this is our second interview. Welcome back from Kville. If you're not a Duke student, this is what tenting looks like to be able to get into the UNC basketball game. So, true Duke school spirit commitment. And this is our guest with us, Nishan. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, my name is Dishant. I'm a senior studying biomedical engineering with a minor in music, and I hope everyone watching is nice and warm and cozy at home.
Yeah, unlike us. Okay, so to start off, obviously our central topic right now is about pivoting and the idea of reevaluating what you want to do once you come to college. So can you tell us a bit about what it was like, what your mindset was like when you were first coming to college? You said you wanted to be pre-med, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to talk through that. So from the age of maybe like 4 or 5, was dead set on being a pediatrician. I knew that that was going to be my entire life's goal. I knew that's what I wanted to be. I was blessed to have a really good pediatrician, and I wanted to be just like him when I grew up. So I was locked in on that path for as long as I can remember. And as I got into college, I started doing some of the coursework and some of the activities that I started involving myself in made me realize that there are other things that I'm definitely interested in, but it was still pretty dead set on the pre-med path. It wasn't until I had a conversation with, I believe he was a sophomore at Hopkins doing med school, when that sort of changed for me. The conversation, so he tends to be a very cynical person, so obviously you have to take things with a grain of salt. But he essentially just kind of abruptly told me that, like, look, if you can see yourself doing anything else in life and succeeding at it, go do that instead. Obviously, your skills are going to be valuable in medicine, but they can be valuable in any other field. And again, he was a second year in med school.
Yeah, going through a tough time.
There's this like bubbly little 18-year-old super excited to take the MCAT.
How do I study for that?
Exactly, yeah. So he was definitely in a different headspace than I was at that point in time. But to me, that conversation was really eye-opening because it did kind of bring to the forefront of my mind every time I was doing something that, like, yeah, I can do this X, Y, Z skill and it would serve me well in medicine, but it could also serve me well in another field. And what I realized throughout that process is a lot of the satisfaction I derive out of my work comes from that sort of like sense of duty of being able to help other people out. And you see that most directly when you're working in medicine as a doctor, right? You're directly making an impact and helping people out in your day-to-day lives, but you need someone to manage things on the back end of that. And people will always forget that there are other industries that work towards serving that back end, where your more analytical, logistical-based skills can actually like serve you well.
That's a really good point because I feel like a lot of people want to go into medicine because of that satisfying interest in really kind of people. But there's other ways to do it.
Yeah, there's so many other ways to do that. And so that's what's kind of led me through this very convoluted path of trying different fields, testing them out.
Yeah, it's the work that's right about that. Kind of like, oh my god, I'm the only one who doesn't have it all together? Or was there ever a point that kind of broke that tension?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're at school like Duke, everyone around you seems to figure out to certain fields, like investment banking, for example, or consulting, recruiting their freshman year, which is insane because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, 18,
year,
me
right?
either, oh my goodness.
So they start recruiting then. Ideally, you've like locked an internship for your sophomore year, and then you like do that internship junior year, and then go full time after that. So seeing those people, and I was kind of exposed to it firsthand. One of my closest friends in undergrad was recruiting for the IB pathway, and he was the exact same way. He was your ideal IB candidate. Like he double major, econ, math, doing a little bit of CS classes here and there, and he like knew exactly the path he wanted to take. He was having coffee chats like every couple of weeks or so, getting to know people at different firms, and he like really had it all together. And it was inspiring for me as his friend to see like, oh, this is like somebody who has it all figured out.
Yeah, like this is my goal.
Exactly. And he seemed to have it all unlocked, so I never questioned that. It wasn't until there was a moment, I want to say the first semester of sophomore year, where we were both having a late study session, maybe like 2 or 3 a.m., studying for our respective classes. And he kind of just in an abrupt moment, like threw his pencil down, he's like, I can't do this anymore. And I was like, well, you have your study guide.
You have the campus in front of you.
You have it all. You can study. It's okay. You got this. And he was like, no, like not with this class. In like my career, I don't know what I want to do. And I was really shocked by that because again, like this is your ideal candidate for
Seemed like
IB.
he
had it all put together. He knows exactly what he's doing, and that was like a little like break in the shell for me. And that's when he sort of told me that he has also had some mixed ambition. He had a bunch of different options that he was going through. Even within IB, there's certain like subsectors, right? And you want to decide like what sort of like desk you want to be on is what they call it, I believe. So there was a lot of confusion for him regarding all those little things, and for me it was really eye-opening because here in front of me I have this person who's one of my closest friends who has it all put together, and all of a sudden he's starting to second guess what's going on, and that made me start to think about like, well, who else around me?
Yeah, if he is, then everyone
right,
can be.
right?
Yeah.
Like, why? What's to say that these people that are dead set and recruiting on this path aren't 100% sure about the path they're recruiting for? So I think that was an eye-opening moment for me where I was like, okay, maybe it's not as bad to be confused or unsure of where you're going to go. I think the most important thing is when you're navigating uncertainty, which everyone does, right, in their undergrad career, it's a matter of kind of how you tackle it. There's a huge difference between being uncertain. I guess the best way to think about it is there's a big difference between being lost in the middle of a field and being lost on a road. Right? Because in the middle of a field, you have no idea where you're going to go, how you're going to get back to where you need to go. On your road, you at least have a path.
You gotta get yourself that map.
Exactly. So having a GPS with you, not just saying like, I don't know what I'm doing, it should be more of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I like doing this. I know I'm good at doing this. What can that get me? And it's important to constantly reevaluate as you're going through the process.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think if we're not afraid to look at ourselves and like look at what we're good at, what we enjoy, what we're not good at, and constantly like reevaluate ourselves, that's a really good opportunity to grow.
Absolutely.
So what was kind of like a signaling as to what you want to do now? Like was there kind of a point of like, oh wait, this is where I could apply my skill set actually?
Yeah, that's a great question. It actually kind of came a little unconventionally. In my undergrad, I mentioned that I'm minoring in music, and I'm now serving as the president of that. But my freshman year, my freshman year, I just joined on the team. I was a little baby, and we like to do spring break together. So we were on spring break. We were in Florida. Spring break, they were all exhausted. There was a big push from the group to and our president and like vice presidents at the time were kind of like, yeah, we can do it, but like we need to figure out like all the like logistics, like little things that nobody really thinks about when you're going to Disney, right? There's a lot of planning that goes into that.
You don't want to, yeah.
Exactly. So I was sitting at breakfast with the president and the business manager, and we like got a little napkin out, pulled out a pen, and we started talking about like what would the day look like? How would we rearrange our schedules according to this like Disney day, like with the shows that we have that would be like on that trip as well. So we started to piece together all these little things, and as time passed and we ate our breakfast, we ended up planning the entire season with that breakfast session. And for me, that was kind of a moment where I was like, I kind of like doing all this planning stuff. Yeah, I like doing logistics. I like to block out my time, and I don't want to say I'm type A about things, but I try to stay.
You can admit it.
I try to stay on top of things. Let's put it like that.
Okay.
So for me, that was kind of like a moment where I was like, these skills, of course, would serve me well in medicine, right? Like as you're going through how to study for your big exams, as you're preparing for all these advanced steps later as you get into your rotations, but also they could serve well in so many other fields. And that was sort of my calling to realize that maybe I should look into the more business aspects behind healthcare.
Wow,
yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So you realized that planning and getting in the knack of the logistics was kind of your strength. Did you change your major at all, or what is your major? And how did that play out?
That's a great question. So I didn't touch my major. I had initially done biomedical engineering because I thought that it would be beneficial to the pre-med degree, and that I was like genuinely interested in the work as well. I stuck with the degree, but I think that something that people fail to realize or don't often think about is that a degree in engineering is a degree in engineering. It's very unique in that sense. And what I mean by that is that a degree in engineering is just one in problem solving. So if you kind of remove the biomedical aspect of it, essentially all they're doing throughout these core classes is kind of rewiring your brain and the way you think, so that you're a little bit more analytical in your approach towards things. You have sort of a clearer problem-solving method, even in your like day-to-day tasks, like what you're making for dinner or something
very,
like
very
that.
applicable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was something that I realized the value in very quickly. And once I isolated my degree to being a degree in engineering and problem solving, it helped me kind of map out into a bunch of different fields that I was a little uncomfortable with. So I'll just quickly run you through the sort of internship experiences I've had, because they've been all over. So
you dip your toes everywhere.
Exactly. So back when I was still on the pre-med track the summer after my freshman year, I had an internship with Beats by Dre. I was doing marketing and analytics with them, and just trying to understand the big. So this was right around the wave when over-ear headphones came back all of a sudden, and we saw everyone walking around campus with those bulky headphones over their ears. So we were trying to exactly. So Beats was really confused by that because they'd been putting all of this like marketing into these little in-ear like AirPod type design. So in that analysis, I chose to focus specifically on the medical aspect of it, talking about how it was a little bit more scientific than this, but I think the core thesis behind it was that it feels easier on your ears.
Interesting.
Because you don't have, like with an AirPod, it's kind of right up against your
like
eardrum.
less invasive.
Yeah, so I really chose to focus on that approach, which I think like kind of sparked my interest in like using engineering and problem solving outside of like just what your scope is as a biomedical engineering per se. Once I realized that I didn't want to do medicine anymore, I had no idea what sort of internship would be open
There's
to
such
me.
a wide net, yeah. Like
Exactly.
where do you decide
where
to
do you
cast it?
go? So at that point, I realized that if I wanted to be in sort of business sphere of healthcare, I needed to understand the sort of inner workings that no one else understands to help me kind of tackle the field as a whole as broadly as I can. So that brought me to Arthur J. Gallagher, which is a commercial risk management and insurance firm.
Oh, okay.
And there I was working on like their life sciences unit specifically. This summer was the boom of like GLP-1s. So your weight loss drugs, Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, all of those things, and every single one of these clients that Gallagher had were all trying to get these GLP-1s on their biologics list because everyone wanted to cut the weight, and that's an easy way to do it. So in that internship, first of all, it was really nice to understand the world of insurance because everyone needs to know it, but nobody wants to know it.
Yeah, that sounds like a great way to describe it. That sounds about right.
And just sort of for like, what determines who gets a biologic? What determines like how these weight loss drugs are applicable? Where it makes sense for it to go? Where it doesn't make sense to go? And that was a really nice introduction to me in like the healthcare field as a whole. The summer after, I realized that I wanted to be more personally within the healthcare sphere of it than insurance. Insurance is kind of a step out. It's a little removed from like the core healthcare. So I got a job at Northwell Health up in Long Island. There I was part of their healthcare administrative team. So I was doing healthcare admin directly. I was really excited about that opportunity. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I just knew that it was what I wanted to do. I remember getting on the phone with my dad at one point and telling him that I got this internship and I was probably going to accept. And it was like, great, you know what you're going to be doing there? And I was like, oh.
No, really. You'll find out.
I didn't really think about that one. I actually don't really know what healthcare from an administrative standpoint really entails. So that was, I think, the most eye-opening experience for me because I got to understand how a hospital and a healthcare system as a whole operates from a business perspective. Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of people don't realize that like healthcare in and of itself is a business, actually. It accounts for about a third of our country's GDP, right?
Wow.
It's a massive market. And you can have doctors and you can have clinicians, but if you don't have someone backing them from an administrative standpoint, there's no way to do it. So there specifically, I was working with their ambulatory site. So they're kind of split into different regions. Ambulatory is essentially a term that describes all of the clinics that are outside of a hospital and a healthcare system. So it was kind of a matter of understanding how are those sort of clinics operating, because it's a different structure from how a hospital operates, right? Because it's a different thing altogether. So understanding how those sort of individual houses are operating and doing their own site of operations, and how they're kind of blending into the healthcare atmosphere as a whole while still maintaining their individuality. So it was really interesting to like get on the ground and talk to some of these like lead ACPs and clinicians and talking to them about like what sort of goes on in their day-to-day lives, what are some of the inefficiencies they're facing from an administrative and operations standpoint
That you could improve.
that I could work to. So that was kind of my awakening in a sense, where I was like, okay, this is where I want to be.
That's what
I want to be helping out physicians and clinicians and figuring out how to make their lives easier. Because especially with, like the national rates of clinician burnout, that's a huge trend right now. I'm forgetting exact statistics, but I think it's like 40% of some like clinicians like post-pandemic are feeling unhappy in their work. And a lot of that isn't because they're treating patients. That's the part they like doing. It's after you treat the patient when you have to go into your electronic health record system and control the data. So how can we optimize that, especially with the onset of AI and all these new tools that exist? How can we use those to make our clinicians' lives
And
easier?
they can dedicate more time to patients.
Exactly.
Yeah, right now, looking for consultants kind of at school or evaluating what's your mentality?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll go back to something I said earlier, is that it's okay to not know what you're doing, but you have to have some sort of confidence and have some sort of so at this point where I'm going to this consulting gig, and look, if it ends up being the work that I love doing, and I'm waking up every morning super excited to do this and super interested in what I'm doing, I'm going to continue doing it for as long as I can, and I'll do it happily. And on the flip side, if I realize a couple of years in that there's something within like these projects that I really specifically enjoyed, maybe I'll pivot into that. So it's kind of just a matter of evaluating after each project of like, okay, what did I like about that? What didn't I like about it? Do I want to learn more about this? Am I kind of happy with how much I know now? And feeling it out.
I think that's a really exciting mentality, and I think that allows you to be much more curious.
Absolutely, yeah. I like to think of myself as a very curious person. I think that's one of my biggest strengths. Not a lot of people identify it as a strength, but I think curiosity is. I'm someone, it's come to a detriment many times because, especially in day-to-day, when I'm doing a task, I'm like, oh, well, I wonder about this, and I'm a completely different rabbit hole, and I've wasted so much time. But I think having excitement about things is what inspires me to do the work that I do.
I think a lot of people applaud curiosity, it's like a good buzzword, but
Yeah.
then to actually, stray off the path and be curious, it takes a lot
It's a
more
whole different
daring.
ballgame.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we should definitely try to do.
Absolutely.
I'm curious if you want to leave our viewers with one piece of advice, throughout your whole journey of what do you recommend to be able to get the most out of, applying your curiosity and figuring out what's like some strengths.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think thinking back in my very nascent career and everything that I described, I think the biggest tool that helped me was honestly just having conversations with people. Just go out and talk to someone. It doesn't matter who. It can be a formal setting like this, having a conversation. It can be scheduling a coffee chat. It can be that you just met someone at an event and the BBH conference, for example, and
Which you guys should all come to.
you meet them there and something sparks a conversation. Just ask for 10 minutes of their time, because you never know what's going to be valuable to you, and it's better for you to hear what everyone has to offer, because everyone comes from a different walk of life. As long as you have at least heard it, doesn't mean you have to implement it, but if you know something's worthwhile for you, you at least have that in your back pocket. So
I think it's really valuable. You can learn through others what you like, what you don't like, what you don't.
absolutely, yeah.
And people who know more teach you a thing or two. Yeah, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And